first. So yeah, for today, so anyone who is just joining us or don't know me, my name is Nicole. Most of you, probably if you've been to the events or you've been here a while, you will have seen me either on calls or up on stage chatting about my journey over the last couple of years with my parenting. So I'm going to start with Ash tonight. Ash, do you want to unmute your line? I'm just going to pin you. Hello, Ash. Asked me. Hello, darling.
Hi.
How are you going?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm amazing. So I'm just going to check your question and make sure I've got it really clear. So your question is asking just for some clarification around a parenting conflict in terms of the way you wish to go about parenting, and it involves children and sort of manners or asking them to greet other people. Is that correct? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I think it's just more like we've sort of been a bit laid back with, the whole hello and goodbye. We just figured that the children would do it in their own time and when they are ready or when they're feeling comfortable. But my partner has recently got some pushback from her like family and stuff like that. Why aren't your kids saying hello? They're being rude, that kind of thing. She's feeling a bit uncomfortable. She thinks that now our eldest is nearly 5, that he should be ready, he should be willing to say hello and goodbye. And I'm just kind of still at the place where I'm thinking that maybe he'll do it in his own time. And I'm just kind of needing some support on what I can do to support my son, like when is the correct time that it should be happening, like what should we be doing at this time, and how do we manage, I guess, other people when they're coming at us about our parenting and the behavior about our children, So I guess I'm a little bit conflicted in this area. I
No,
don't want
it's
to go
very
against my
valid.
partner and I don't want to, you know what I mean? So I'm just like trying to work it all out.
Yeah, it's a very valid question, and I really love that you have been able to support your kids in feeling safe with who they're interacting with and those sorts of things. Myself have been on a similar journey with my youngest. He was nonverbal, and it took a very long time for him to communicate with anybody outside our home. He went to kinder, didn't speak to anyone, not even children, anyone for 6 months. And so I have a real understanding of where you're at in terms of wanting them to speak in public and with people and that sort of thing. The advice that we were given on that is what you're saying, that they will take time and they will eventually get to a point where they are feeling comfortable and they will be able to have those conversations with people. The addition to that was that we were able to negotiate with him about what he would feel comfortable. And so sometimes a greeting was a smile, sometimes a greeting was a fist pump, sometimes it was a high five. So we were able to get him used to alternate ways of communicating if he didn't feel as though he could verbally say hello or wave or those sorts of things. So there were some alternates. There were some days where he was really just not, like, it was a hard no for him. It was a boundary. He just was not prepared to speak or to do any of those sort of actions or communication sort of symbols. So for us, we did have days where we would have to sort of step in and say, if people were saying, oh, hello, Jesse, we'd say, we'd sort of give him a moment and then we'd say, oh, he's just not feeling like saying hello today, but, hi, thanks for saying hi. And as time progressed, he did in fact do what you were thinking. Like, he's 4 now and he does communicate. He will speak to people. He will engage in saying hello and those sorts of things. But it did take time. And the premise for us was that we wanted it to be in his own time. We didn't want to place an expectation upon him where he felt like that he had to do something that didn't feel right for him. But we did also align that with, it is nice to respond to people when they respond, but we modeled it as well. So we were kind of a bit over the top with our modeling. So if someone would come and say hello to us, just with our family in particular, I'd be like, no, I don't feel like a hello today, but do you want to do a fist pump? And then, so like, it was like, and then my family would be like, yeah, let's, and they'd be like, hi. And so it became something where everyone was aware that this was a situation where we all had a combined collective responsibility to support the child in communicating in a way that felt aligned and safe to them. So it was gentle nudges as we went. But for me, my family, I didn't get any pushback because he was completely non-verbal beforehand. So any kind of communication was really celebrated for us. But in your case, there absolutely is an ability to say, yes, we can understand that you would feel, like upset, or maybe that perceive his behavior to be rude. Like we understand that. Right now, we're supporting him with alternate ways of communicating, and we'd love your support to get on board. So you can offer him a fist pump, you can offer him a wave, you can offer him a smile.
Yeah, we were sort of going, how about a high five today? And then he was doing that. But I feel like there's been like more pressure, from others as he's getting older to engage in that way. And now he's completely like, anytime like a parent will, like, in particular, like my mum or my partner's mum, they will kind of go, come on, Oakley, give me a cuddle. And they really bang it on. And he's just like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Like, it's just not happening. And I just don't know what to say in that time. Like, I just feel like really like I get mumbled, and it's just from a generation where, they don't understand any of this,
No, it's very foreign.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. It's very foreign. And as children, we were asked to do that. And from a person like myself, where lines then became blurred in terms of what was acceptable behavior for adults to engage in with me. I didn't understand that as a child, and some damage has absolutely been done because I didn't have a parent who gave me the authority over my body to whether I engaged with another person, adult or another person. I just was taught that, if Uncle Jimmy wants a cuddle, then you give Uncle Jimmy a cuddle. And it can lead to, and it absolutely did in my case, where lines are blurred and children are unknowingly engaging in behavior that is unacceptable because we have told them, go and give Uncle Jimmy a cuddle, when their body is screaming to them, no, stop, don't, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe. And we gaslight them and tell them, it's okay, you can go and do this, go and do that. And they lose sight and the ability to tune into their internal guidance system, which is telling them, no, stop. And so this is where, you have to come out as mama bear and be like, I'm sorry. And I understand that, for your generation, or, that you might find that this is, but this for me is a hard no. I am drawing a line here where I would like to teach my children to have full autonomy over their body, where they are able to make choices that are in alignment with their gut feelings, so that they safe and they feel that they can engage in the world based on their own intuition and their own feelings of safety. Because if you shut that off now, that's when they will get in the car with the drunk person and they will take the drugs, because you've turned their internal guidance system off. You've overrid it and told them to just do what you say. So why shouldn't they just do what their friend says or whatever when they're older? So you can explain those sorts of things, to them as well, and say it really is coming from a place of wanting to help the children to really feel safe in their own bodies and to have a voice and to be able to advocate for themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so you don't think should we encourage them to say hello, or should we have a pre-scripted thing beforehand? Like, hey, how are you feeling today? Do you think you're going to be able to say hello, or maybe prior to any social event, or should it be
I think that would cause more concern for them. I think that would sort of build the expectation because, myself, I'm potentially neurodiverse. So for me, if I was then thinking I'm okay to do this, and then I got to a situation and I got a message of, no, I'm not actually okay, I would have to then override myself to please, because I said I would do that. So it kind of would cause the same situation.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess you could just offer different ones, when they're there, if they're like, oh, grandma says, oh, can I have a hug? You might be able to step in and say, and if they're sort of cowering away or whatever, you'll say, oh, grandma, give me a hug. I want to give you a hug. Use a situation like that and then say, oh, do you want to, did you want to wave to Nana?
To make it, to make it super playful at the time.
Yes.
Try to not make it so pressure or whatever, an expectation that's on them. Just make it playful, and then if that's it, okay, let's go to the park now.
Yes. So you model the behaviour that you want to have happen.
Yeah.
And then allow it to be what it is. And this is the recommendation that we got for my son in terms of talking. So when he was nonverbal, as parents, we were like, can you say this? Can you say this? Oh, say that. And they were like, no, don't do that. That expectation is too much pressure. And so it's just you say the word once and repeat it a couple of times in a sentence a different way and then move on. And there's no expectation for him to try and say it. It's the same situation. If you model a couple of times, a high five or a whatever, and he doesn't take up that invitation, because it's an invitation, you're offering him the ability to, to join in. If he declines that invitation, there's no punishment for that. There's no, disappointment or whatever. Grandma might need to actively manage her own disappointment and realize that this situation isn't a reflection upon his love for her.
Okay.
That it's just something that is not feeling okay with him right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And should I use that same concept with saying good night or I love you, that kind of thing? It's the same kind of concept, yeah? Just role modeling that and just trying to encourage it, but not putting the pressure on him to kind of reciprocate that.
Yeah, and have the conversation with family first, just to say,
okay,
look, we're really aware that there are, that people are feeling, that it's rude and that sort of thing, and we absolutely can understand where you're coming from, and please know that by us not forcing him is not an attempt for us to devalidate anything that is happening for you. We're just attempting to see if we can support him to feel safe in his body and to advocate for himself and those sorts of things. So, we really would like you all to come on board. And if you can help us by trialing these things, and give us a little bit of time and space to see if he naturally progresses to that. And, like if he's 10 and he's still not, wanting to, at least engage in a conversation or a high or those sorts of things, then you may choose to go down a different route. But I think you would, give him some time. 4, nearly 5 is still developmentally young for learning how to be in tune with your own guidance system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
I'll just check the chat. Yeah. Thanks, Kim. All right. Let me just check who is it. Oh, Renee Sykes. Is that how I say it? Renee and Russell.
Hello.
Hello. Let me pin you guys. Thank you. So, I'm just going to admit someone in. Your question today, let me double check it, was just for the people who are on the recording so they can see. So you've got 13-year-old who's had lots of surgeries, and he's in lots of pain, and you're just concerned about how much interaction he's having in the family or just in general?
As a whole. As a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's basically like he's lived through a lot of trauma as well. He's had a really abusive father. So Russell is his stepfather.
Mhm.
And it's just been a constant battle for him for as long as he can remember. And his father also divided him and his brother as siblings as well by pushing them against each other.
Okay.
And Lincoln would tell me what was happening and that he didn't like it. So I've got a child that's putting his hand up saying, please don't do this to me. I don't like it. Please don't hurt me. Please don't yell at me. And then I've got the other one who's saying, no, I'm fine. Dad doesn't do that. And then made out like just because he didn't want to get in trouble. So he would just pretend like it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So then that would leave my older son really overwhelmed and feeling punished for being honest.
And having that sense of responsibility, I guess, to
Yeah.
protect his younger sibling, but then feeling unable to.
Yeah, and his younger sibling was the one that was dobbing him in all the time. So he felt betrayed as well. So whenever something goes wrong, he just goes, please don't tell Lawson, because he's just going to tell everyone and he's going to pick on me. And, so my ex-husband sort of turned my younger son into a bully to his brother, because he'd say that he was a pussy and he was a sook and stuff like that. So he's lived through a lot of trauma with surgery. He's got growing pains. He can't do the things that he loves. He went to the school. The school counselor actually spoke to me yesterday afternoon and said that he talked about potentially killing himself.
Yeah.
Which come of a big shock, because he'd never sort of said anything about that before.
Yeah.
And that was quite confronting. I'd like to consider myself a pretty supportive parent, and I have tried my best to guide him through that, even though I've never felt any of these things from anyone except his dad. Like, I've experienced the trauma through DV, but I haven't been through all these surgeries. I haven't been through this kind of pain as a child in such a short time.
Yeah.
So I guess I feel like I don't know how to help him, but he also, his psychologist has said to me that he has the emotional maturity of a 15-year-old at 12. So he's
Often
quite
kids
well
who have
aware.
been through trauma do.
Yeah, so he's quite well aware of his surroundings and the way things affect him and the way things are happening around him. He notices when money's short. He notices that he knows that surgeries cost money because he sees you pay for them because it's all been done through the private system.
Mhm.
So he feels like he's a burden on our finances. And even though I've never made him feel like that and always tell him that no matter what, I'd always spend every dollar I have to make sure he's okay,
Yeah.
he still has taken on that burden.
Yeah.
And I guess I asked him if I said to him, "What do you need from me? What do you want from me? You tell me what you would like me to do and what support you require, and absolutely you'll get it." And he just says, "I don't know."
Yeah. And so the biggest thing that I can reassure you of is often when they are saying, like, I want to die or I want to kill myself, it's not always that they want, it's just, I want this situation to fucking stop. Like,
Yeah,
I just want it to end. And I have no power in this because I have no power over the pain that I'm feeling. I have no power over the conditions that I have, you know, I've lived with in terms of having to have the surgeries and having to, like any kind of medical procedure is very, you know, takes your power. Like every time you go in for surgery and whatever, your power is taken away, or all of those times. Every time you are experiencing pain that you can't manage, your power is taken away. So he has experienced throughout his life so many times where it's just like people are just taking from him, just taking and taking and taking. And so it's not a surprise that he's coming to a point or a situation where he's like, well, like he's just used to people taking things. He doesn't know what he needs to
yeah.
feel to feel okay. Like it's so foreign to him, because he's experienced so many of these situations and these things. How much contact does he have with his dad?
Zero at the moment. So there's a current AVO court case going on. So
Yeah.
his dad actually assaulted him and then mentally harmed him through fear of actually being killed.
Okay. Yep.
So he has no contact through the court and was charged, but he's also paid a barrister to drill and question his children, and he's already withstood 2.5 hours of that,
Okay.
with a possible further however many hours the man chooses to do it for.
It was supposed to be finished
In February,
in Feb, but his barrister was ill,
unwell
so
Okay.
they adjourned it. And
for 7 months.
if people know the court system at the moment, it's
very backed up.
it's just clogged. So once they adjourn something, it's not sort of I'll see you next month. It's we'll see you in September.
Yes.
So he thought
It was all going to
it
be
was all going to
over.
be finished and done and dusted, and then we've sort of said no, mate, we've got to go back in September because the court said that's when we can go back. So now he's waiting for that to happen. So he can't put anything to rest. He just can't put it. It's always constantly with him. And as much as I can help him, I feel powerless as well as his stepdad.
Absolutely.
I want to. There's certain things I want to do.
We have no control over it as well. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
like
so it's hard. It's hard to see that his dad does these types of things, and me as a stepdad, I want to protect my family and do whatever I can, but just I can't. And when Renee told me the other day that she come home and he'd said those things, I sort of said the same thing as you. I said maybe it's just a way of him.
Well, that's what his counsellor said. She said, look, I asked him if we could talk to you about it, and he was absolutely on board for that.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not worried that something could happen. I know that this is a help me, I don't know what to do scenario. But it's just the upset that you feel like he felt like his life is so hard he'd rather not be here.
Yeah, he does. He wants to be.
I absolutely know.
I think so.
what
That's
you're
why
feeling.
I said I think you hit the nail on the head with how you said that. It's his way of sort of saying, oh, everyone's taking this from me, so I just want it to go away.
Yeah,
Um,
because he feels so powerless to enact any change in his life.
mm,
Like he can't change his health right now.
mm,
Holly is going to have a conversation. I saw her message to you about the health condition and about some ways in which she can help you with diet and those sorts of things. So she's going to do that side of it. But I guess on the mental side of it, um, there is an opportunity for you both to model for him how you process through this yourselves. So,
mm,
speaking aloud what you're feeling and doing and whatever. So like when you're having moments where you're feeling powerless, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling, all of those sort of situations and those things, just say, being able to say, like I feel them too. And
mm,
I, as an adult, my brain has got other functions in it that your brain is still developing. And so I'm lucky enough that for me, my brain can, click and realign, and I can start to think a little bit more clearly and a little bit easier and those sorts of things. But
mm,
as your brain is developing, it's halfway there because you're a teenager, but it's not quite there yet. So everything you're feeling is so normal.
mm,
You're
And
not
yeah,
the only person to be feeling that. It hurts my heart to say that you're not, that this is normal, and because it's hard to feel what you're feeling. Like it's not okay. And if I could, I would change this and fix it all for you. But what I do know, and like I don't know what your beliefs are about the universe or God or any of those things, but what I do know is that myself and we've been through moments where things have been hard, and I've wanted to give up and I've wanted to, but once I've been able to move through that, I've realized that some of the things that are happening for me are really helping me to learn and grow and those sorts of things. But in the moment, we can't see that. And so,
mm,
I can't see that. I don't know why you're having all of these challenges and these things. One day we'll look back and we'll be like, oh wow, okay, that's what it was. But right now, yeah, it's hard. And I think as parents, the only thing that you can do is um work on yourself. And
mm,
what I mean by that is to sit, oh, I'm getting a bit teary, to sit alongside a child who is feeling like that. It is a lot of space to hold.
mm,
It is a lot of space to hold. And so working on yourself to know that you are going to be able to hold that space, whatever comes your way, whether they decide to be, whether he's shouting at you, whether he's, telling you that he wants to kill himself, or any of those things, that you're able to respond in love and not in a place of trigger and hurt and your own wounds.
mm.
yeah,
And that's the really big, advice, is to be able to hold him through that, to be able to be like, I don't know all the answers, like
Yeah.
I
yeah.
don't know.
That's where I sort of sat a lot of the time. I tried to be really open and really caring, and I've also said to them, I don't know how he feels with all of the surgeries, and I said it's
Mhm.
not fair. It's
Yeah,
absolutely not fair.
and say that to him, like
And I'm
it's
sorry
not
that it's
fair.
happening to you, but
Yeah,
all I'm doing is trying my best to make sure that we get you the medical support that you need
yeah,
and the help that you need. But it's also so the severs and the Osgood, that's growing issues. So
Mhm.
it's inflammation of the growth plate.
Yep.
So the bone's grown faster than the muscle. But I take him to the physio and they give him exercises, but he just refuses to do them.
Yep.
And I'm like, buddy, this is you taking control of your life.
Hmm.
You do these exercises, you're taking control and saying, no, Severs, you're not gonna hurt me anymore. I'm
Yeah.
gonna fix it.
Yeah.
But I just can't get him to get out of his head to actually do it.
And
Like to
I think,
take control.
he's in definitely in that part of the brain, the reptilian part where he's in his freeze mode. Like he's just like, fuck it all. Like, and he's in complete freeze mode. So there's fight and flight and there's freeze as well, functional freeze. So he's able to function in life, but he's literally frozen because he doesn't know how to move forward or where to even turn to move forward and that sort of thing. And so it is a challenge for you to help him to move through from the functional freeze back into the part of the brain and the part of the nervous system that is going to be of benefit for him. But you can't do it for him, and that's
Yeah, that's
that's the
right.
hardest part. And I
And that's
love
what I
how
say
you
to him
said
too.
that.
Like, I can lead you to water, but I can't make you drink it, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, you have to make these choices for yourself. And he seems to take on everything. So like he literally blurted out the other day, like when we were talking to the counselor, he's got to pick his subjects for year 9. He's in the start of year 8. I'm like,
Yeah.
buddy, that's not happening for a while.
Hmm.
You don't need to worry about that right now.
Yeah.
Just think about that later. But what am I going to do with my life, Mum? I'm like, darling, it's all right.
Yeah.
We can think about that when you approach that phase. Just get what you got to get done now, and we can worry about that when it comes up. And then he's like, but I can't play sport. I miss sport. None of my friends want to be my friends anymore because I can't play sport with them anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, so he'll just play the PlayStation.
Yeah.
And then I find that he's talking to friends on PlayStation, but he's not. So he's still socially interacting with them, but not as a person. So like in front of them, he sort of just will hang out with different people at school because he can't play sport. So they don't play sport. So he sits with them and then his actual mates go play sport without him.
Hmm.
I feel like because they're all young, they're not supporting him through that by saying, hey, we'll sit with you too.
Yeah. 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 They don't
He's
have
feeling
that.
like let down, like,
Yeah, absolutely. But
yeah.
then, on the other side of that, has he like said to them, hey, like, can I just, can someone sit and hang out with me today? Like, I want to hang out. Like, has he voiced that? Because
No, and that's what I've tried. So he doesn't have a great deal of self-confidence because his father has diminished that.
yeah,
So I've spent the last 13 years trying to build the confidence up, and then every second weekend his dad smashed it back down.
yeah,
Um,
I know
by
that
telling him he's
feeling.
not good enough.
Yeah,
He'd get a B on his school report. He's like, well, you didn't get an A,
yeah, yeah,
and he's like, but I got a B. And then if they had the reports, they'd have our school marks very, very strictly, right? So most of the kids get a C. To be getting a B and an A, you need to be very much exceeding.
mhm,
So on the ones he'd get a C, he'd have the effort level of 5 and 4, and
yeah,
he'd have a C, and he goes, all I see is a whole bunch of effort with 0 result.
yeah, yeah,
And he'd just get smashed.
yeah,
And no matter how proud I was of his report, he was petrified to bring another one home.
yeah. Yeah,
Like,
and Holly always talks about reports in terms of just pay no attention to them. Just they are what they
and
are.
I
It's
say to them,
it's
I
your
look at the
effort.
comment at the bottom, and that's it. I don't care what mark you get. I care about what kind of person you're contributing to society.
Absolutely.
And that's all I say to them. I don't give a stuff about the rest of it. I want to read the comment and read what kind of person your teacher thinks you are in the school community,
Yeah,
because
and I
that's
think
what matters.
realigning him and bringing him back to what he is, because he is feeling so powerless, and so then he's looking for areas in his life where he can have some control and things, and that's why he's like focusing on or I get to choose my subjects next year in year 9. That's him. Like that's a choice. That's a power that he has. But then along with that power comes
stressing himself out about it.
Yeah, big responsibility, because what if I fuck it up? Like, what if
Yeah.
I pick the wrong subjects and I can't, you know,
And I don't like it.
or I don't know what career I'm going to be. I don't know what pathway and that sort of thing. So it is about also empowering him with the knowledge of where the future is and where the past was. For us, when we were growing up, you know, like we were like, get into a career and you do that career for the rest of your life. But they're saying now that kids are going to be in 6, 7, 8 careers because of the technology and the way things are changing, that careers are going to, you know, they're not going to need that job anymore because AI will do that. And so then you'll have to change and do something else. So it's about empowering him with what he can change. What he can do is get ahead of the curveball and know that to be an employable person in the future, you need really strong emotional intelligence. Tick. They are saying that he has that. You need to have the ability to be adaptable and change and be able to, you know, pivot and move with the changes in technology and everything that is happening. And so, you know, he is doing that in terms of gaming. So it is about pulling the parts of his life where he can then take some control back and helping him to focus on those. And so when he says things like, you know, like, I don't know what job I'm going to do and that sort of thing, it's like, that's okay. It's okay not to know. But what you can do is choose the subjects that interest you. You can choose the subjects that are going to provide you with skills that are adaptable to many, you know, different fields or different things, you know, like math and engineering and, you know, all those other kinds of ones that can lead to, you know, technology based sort of things, and empower in that way. And I think the biggest thing I tell my kids now is pick your shit. Pick your shit. Both options that you have are shit. Like at the moment, it's shit to have a conversation with your friends about saying, I actually would like to sit with someone because I can't play. And it's shit to be in a situation where you are having to be with the other kids. Weigh up your situations and choose your shit rather than have it be chosen for you by other people just not hanging out with you. You choose. So then it doesn't feel like each day he's powerless to that situation because he's like, he chose that.
Yeah.
He chose to either have the conversation or he chose to hang out with those kids. There's no resentment in, oh, they're not, you know, like they're not hanging out with me. Oh, I'm choosing to hang out with these people because that feels safer than having a conversation with my mates.
Yeah, because he doesn't feel comfortable to speak up. And I also said to him that he needs to choose himself too.
Yeah.
And he goes, but people don't like selfish people. And I'm like, Dylan, there's a difference between choosing you and being selfish.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference. So you can choose you, and like, so he goes in and puts his laptop next to a friend, and then some other kid moves it and then sits there. He'll just let that happen.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you say, excuse
I was
me,
sitting
my
there.
laptop was there. I was sitting there. And if they might just get up and move, they might have a carry on and go, fine, you can sit there if it's so important to you. I'll sit somewhere else.
Yeah.
So try to give him that confidence to stand up for himself, because people won't do it if he does stand up for himself. The next time, that person might not do that because he said something to them.
Absolutely, and we experienced that with my son, Xander. He's very small, and on the
And that's like him too. He's not very big either.
Yeah, waiting for the bus, like a kid was like doing this on his neck and like squeezing his neck, and he turned around and he, you know, gave him a mouthful and told him where to, you know, some words and where to go and whatever. And the kid said, you know, oh, what are you going to do about it? And he's like, I'm telling you to stop. And the kid's like, do you want to fight me? And he's like, well, okay. And the kid's like, punch me. He's like, well, I'm not going to hit you first. And then, the bus came and it sort of fizzled out. But then the kid doesn't do it to him anymore because he stood up for himself and was able to, and he has the thing that he doesn't necessarily want to get into a fight, but he's willing to put himself in that situation because he's not willing to continue to endure the little niggles that are happening, because people think that he's smaller, that they can take advantage of him in that way.
Yeah.
And so you're really, I feel like you absolutely have got such a beautiful base level of understanding of what he needs and what he wants. And I think the biggest thing now is to say, we don't have all the answers, but we're here. Like, we're with you, and it is shit. Your situation is shit. We're not denying it. We're not trying to gaslight you and be like, other people have got it worse, or, like it's okay, you'll be fine, no. Like,
and that's one thing I get angry at other people, because so many people said to him, it's okay, it's going to be over soon. February will come, it'll be over. And I said, don't say that to him, because you don't know that.
No.
So
that's his experience. It's real.
I get really upset because their out of family communities say that, like especially the older ones, like their grandparents and stuff. And I'm like, shut up. Don't say that to him. Like, you don't fucking know. You don't know that it's going to be over. And then it wasn't. And I was like, buddy, I said, you got to look at the positive, right? Now that's 7 more months. Your dad can't touch you or see you.
Yes.
7 more months until you go to court, and then they'll appoint an AVO that could be 1 year, could be 2 years, could be 5 years. I'm not going to go and tell him it's going to be 5 years and then it might be 1.
No, absolutely.
I'm like, whatever the judge tells us, based on what is ruled, will happen. I said, and then from then we can reapply to get another one, because you can tell the court that you don't feel safe around your dad still and you don't want to know him.
Absolutely. And then you can empower him the next level, where you can say to him, so, it is going to be, 6 months or whatever it is until September. And so I know that it's weighing on your heart and it's heavy, and, and the waiting for that time feels really hard because you just want it to be finished. But what I want to ask you is, each day when you're thinking about it or you're worrying about it, how does that serve you? How is that helping you? Because at the moment, holding on to these things that feel really heavy, like it anchors you down, and it makes you feel, energetically speaking, like it really holds you down flat. And this is where, the nervous system can feel overrun and in that freeze sort of moment, and that freeze capacity. And so being able to offer him the solution of saying to him, right now we can't do anything. We can't change it. We can't manipulate time. We can't make it happen any sooner. But what we can do is we can say, this is a future me problem. And I can put that future me problem in a box, and I can put it on a shelf. And it can stay there until I need to access it again. And any time that, one of those thoughts or whatever comes up and I'm like, and it starts to worry me, I stop. This doesn't serve me. Take the file, stick it in that box, close the lid, and then 5 senses, bring himself back into his present moment. I can see the dog. I can hear birds outside. I can smell mum's cooking. I can touch the table, and just recenter himself into his present moment.
Yeah, thank you. That's really super good advice for putting it into a box. That's amazing.
And anytime any thoughts or feelings or whatever comes up, take that file, stick it in the box, because that's a future him problem. That's not a problem. Trying to plan it all out now, or what all it does is weigh him down and make him feel really, really heavy.
Yeah, and it's just I feel like it's just been so much for him, because he knows what's happened.
Yep.
because they questioned him for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
He knows what he's up for.
Yeah.
And he's not allowed to talk to me about it.
Yeah.
He's only allowed to talk to a psychologist about it.
Yeah.
Or a counsellor about it.
Yeah.
He's not allowed to talk to anyone outside of the court about it.
Yeah.
Other than a medical professional. So he can't tell me how he feels, and he's very much a child that tells me how he feels, but he can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and that's because it's that much longer that he can tell me what happened as well. So I've tried to get him that medical support so he can unleash that and unload it. But that's a really good, thank you. That's really super good advice about putting, because I've always just said, let's just try not to think about it. But I
no.
think about the whole, put it in a box and take it out of there,
Okay.
like that's really amazing.
I have another one for you. So when we tell him, so if you think of a creek or a river, and when you tell him to just not think about it, basically it's like that feeling or that emotion is a tennis ball, and he's pushing it down, and it's lodging in the bottom of his creek bed. And so what happens is it doesn't take too long until there are so many things in his creek bed that they're coming up, and he hasn't got any control over what's flying up. And so what happens is when physics, when you push a ball down, what happens when you let go of it?
It flies out.
Flies out, and it flies out anger, it flies out depression, it flies out this freeze thing, like it flies out in really unhealthy ways. And so what we can help him to understand is that in his body, when he's feeling angry and he's feeling those sorts of things, he doesn't need to tell you the cause of those things, but he can tell you that he's feeling it. Because when it comes up, it's coming up because it wants to be released, because the emotions are just energy in motion. And so then it's about movement and that sort of thing. So when he was doing sports and whatever, he had a vehicle to release this energy.
Yeah, and that's what I'm finding.
He doesn't have that now.
He can't get any of his endorphins coming in and out. He's got nothing, because literally he's only just started to walk, not looking like an 80-year-old.
Yeah. And so
everything is painful. Like, he now just started to heal enough where he can walk like a normal 13-year-old.
Yeah. And so breath work may be really powerful for him. There are like letting go breath works, like with breathing and that sort of thing. So I would recommend researching it yourself, feeling how comfortable you are with introducing something like that for him.
Yeah.
Anger, like scribbling, drawing, like just getting that sort of thing out. Sometimes it depends on his pain levels, but shaking his body might be something that can discharge some of that energy for him. But allowing him the freedom to tell you the feeling and the emotion that he's experiencing, not the content that is driving it, I guess.
No, that's awesome.
I think some people had some questions. We're happy to answer them
on the chat. Yeah.
You lose her?
Where'd she go?
Sorry, I lost my internet. Yeah.
He's 13. I think someone asked how old he was.
Kim was checking.
And we're in New South Wales, not Victoria.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
does that feel now? Do you feel like you've got some strategies?
I definitely feel like we've got some strategies moving forward, like especially that box one. That was really awesome to be able to help pull it out of his head.
Yeah.
And put it away. That's like really awesome.
Yeah, I think too, us doing this program has really sort of helped me to re-engage back with him as his stepdad, because once all that was sort of happening, I sort of disengaged a little bit. Only because I was a bit helpless around what I could and couldn't do and how I felt. So as a male, you know, when you see a pride of lions, the only thing that the male wants to do is
Fine.
protect his pride, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I want to do that, but I can't. But so I think now doing this course has really brought me and Renee back together, not only just as a couple, but
Yeah.
as parents and as a stepdad to Renee's boy. You know, I can really sort of step back up again and re-engage together, and we do it both together. You know, so
And you need to really acknowledge and understand the role that you have in showing him what healthy masculinity is.
yeah,
What a centered, healthy man is, because he's got a really good model for what it is not.
yeah,
And so, you know, allowing him to see what he, you know, how to feel things and how to process things as a man, because men do it differently to women.
absolutely.
You know, it's very different. And so, you know, you do have a big role to play in being that model for him of healthy centered masculinity.
Yeah, agree.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling like that's a great point for you guys to start with, is having that conversation about how to get things out of his head. And he can have 50 boxes up on his shelf. You know, he can have his year 9 subject selection up on his shelf, because that's a future him problem. Like, he doesn't need to be feeling and worrying about that now. And in, you know, it can go up on the box, up on the shelf, and you'll revisit it in, you know, October when he's feeling a little bit more aligned, or whenever the, you know, the date is that he has to do that.
Yeah, it's good. Good
Yeah.
strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Excellent.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Rob, are you there?
Yep.
Hello, how are you?
Hi, how you going?
Great. I'll just check your question so that I can, just for the replay, make sure that everyone is aware. And you can add to it if I missed anything. But your question was about your son who is not sleeping. So day 17, not sleeping. You've tried melatonin, you've tried meditation, self-soothing, self-love, all of those, and nothing seems to be working at this point.
Yeah, that's right. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been better the last 2 nights. But some nights, he's pulled all-nighters and stuff. So his main issue is he just can't switch off his thinking.
Yep.
And because of that, he hates himself and he hates his mind. And he becomes very dysregulated and starts hitting himself in the head repeatedly, and says he hates himself, wants to kill himself, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's just heartbreaking to see. I understand, because I used to teach meditation and stuff, so I know all about mindfulness and stuff. But it's very hard to get him to do that in a way which helps him to still his mind enough. Part of that is also because he doesn't like the sound of his breath sometimes too. So in meditation, one of the things we do is, as
Yeah, audible
become
breath. Yeah.
in your breath,
Yeah.
But the fact that he hates his breath makes it a bit more challenging. Yeah, so just hoping to see if you've got any strategies of what we could do, because I just hate to see him, suffering so much. And yeah.
Yeah. Holly reached out to me today with a point for you. She said to me, ask them about parasites. She's like, I'm pretty sure it'll be a parasite thing. And so that was a good confirmation for me, because I know my son also experienced this sort of thing. He is ASD and also ADHD as well,
Okay.
and parasites were actually a big factor in him not being able to switch off his brain and get to sleep and that sort of thing. Where are you at with parasites and your understanding of that? And yeah.
Sorry, I'm in the corner.
Hello.
We're partially hi, I'm Dee. We're partially tried to cleanse, but the issue is both the kids haven't liked taking the stuff. It's been really challenging.
What have
is
you
it
tried?
like a combination of different things like wormwood and things like that?
No. So we're just going off what our neighbour said. She said go in it like from a heavy metal detox point of view. So it was taking chlorella and charcoal.
Yeah.
And then just like some cloves each day, but just to get him to swallow the pills, like he'd done it a couple of days and he's like, no, I hate the taste. And so to be honest, we're not really sure how to go about the parasite thing. I mean, we bought the stuff from the chemist and the whole family does that. You know, we do that probably a couple of times a year. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to do it because there's so much conflict stuff online.
Yeah, so what we found really helpful and what Holly has recommended for some other families as well is a zeolite spray. The brand or the company is TRS. And initially she would say to get TRS. Then there was some controversy about it in terms of people were saying that it stripped the minerals. So then now they sell it in with a second product, and I think it's called fulvic acid. And they together. So the TRS strips the heavy metals and the parasites and those sorts of things. But because the way that the body works is that it can't strip away those things without naturally taking away some of the other trace minerals that your body actually needs. And so you need to have the fulvic acid to replenish those minerals. The thing which is why we recommend the TRS, particularly for children who are on the spectrum, is it is tasteless. It's a spray, and they spray it. You increment up with how many sprays, and it's just a spray into the mouth, and it tastes like water, like it doesn't have a taste to it. So it's easy to administer. If they're still not keen with that, you can drop them into like their daily water bottle that they take into school or whatever, and then they're none the wiser. It's just in there. And it is really beneficial. But for myself, we did that detoxing when my son was non-verbal, and that's what stripped the heavy metals from him, and he started to talk.
Really?
Like, for our family, incredible results.
Wow. So is that just the heavy metal detox, or
it's parasite as well? So it's zeolite is the
so it does both.
ingredient. Yes, yeah. So I used it for my son with my elder son with his parasites, and it's cleared up his parasites. He then was able to sleep. We had a massive change in his ability to regulate as well, because it did work on the heavy metals for him as well as the parasites. But parasites, particularly when you're having or noticing that there are behaviours that are coming at night in particular, is because that's when parasites are more active.
Yeah, that's one of these mostly,
yeah.
He's a sweet little child during the day.
Yeah, so it does point to that as a possible reason, or something that's going on for him is the parasites. And it doesn't necessarily mean there are so many different parasites, and so the parachoc and those sort of things, it's not really working on a broad range of them, whereas the zeolite does work on the environment as well, making it so the environment is uninhabitable for the parasites to live in, and then they just die and they're expelled.
Right.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, should we get a TRS brand, do you think?
Yeah, so Holly I will get Holly tomorrow to pop into the group. She has a lady that she works with, or that
Yeah.
she's knows, who is a distributor for it, and so I'll get her to pop all her details into the group, and then you can do your own research and feel aligned that this is something that you would like to do for your family and to test that out.
Okay.
There's many of us in this community that have had a lot of success for multiple sort of things, and there's also a group that you can read other people's first-hand accounts of what has happened for their families when they've tried this kind of detox.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Quick question: how long do you do it for, the treatment?
So we did it for a few months. We did it for 3 months and noticed a difference. And then any time that things sort of pop up again, then we will have restart it for a little period of time. But I think her name's Lana. She is distributor, and she is a wealth of information, and Holly will pass on her all of her details, and you can she's really accommodating. She will answer all of those questions and recommend the incremental phases for you based on your child's age and that sort of thing, because different ages are obviously at different doses. Adults can take it and stuff as well.
Okay. And do you think that'll help with the self-love stuff too?
So I think with the I think combat that, hard, working on that, and then the self-love stuff is going to be the conversations that you have about, when he says those sorts of things, like what's your reaction? Like what do you guys say when he says that?
What we've been doing lately is trying to say to him, look, how does that feel in your heart when you say that to yourself?
Yeah.
And it's usually not a good feeling. And then we're like, okay, well, why don't you meet that thought with, I guess, a more loving feeling, so to speak, just to kind of, I guess, get him to understand that, obviously sometimes we can have these negative thoughts, but if we can be a bit, more gentle and kinder to ourselves, it kind of helps us feel a bit better about it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that is perfect. I think prior to that, just validate him for feeling that. Just be like, oh, mate, like, gosh, that would feel so hard to feel like that. I can't imagine how that hurts. How that hurts your heart. Just it hurts my heart just to hear that for you. That, gosh, that must feel really hard for you. I'm really sorry that you're feeling like that.
Yeah.
And so that validation first, of really validating him that, that's a real experience for him, like he really is experiencing that depth of, powerlessness in controlling his thoughts and those sorts of things, and so really validating that. And then when you validate him, you will notice like a change, because it's like, oh, like they get it. Then go in with the next level of, because when he's done the sort of thing, that his brain is switched over into the brain, the mammalian brain, where he can actually listen to you, and he can take on that information. Because you've probably said it to him a billion times, but I'm sure you heard Holly say that he wouldn't have heard you once.
Yeah. A lot of repetition.
So, just go in with the validation first to then allow his nervous system to reset and get into the ability for him to uptake that information. And it may be that the next day, you have a conversation with him. And what's his name, sorry?
Bailey.
Bailey, and how old is he?
10.
Yeah, and you might say, Bailey, are you open to having a conversation with me? I just wanted to have a chat with you and just see how, I noticed that you were talking a lot about how you hate yourself and those sorts of things, and they're really big feelings and they're really big emotions. And, I wondered how you're feeling today, and see in that moment if he's able to identify any changes in his feelings or emotions, or if it's happening outside of those, moments, just to give yourself a little bit more of an understanding, and just say, you know, like, it's okay for you to feel like that. You know, sometimes mummy and daddy feel like that too. Sometimes, you know, when things feel really hard, you know, it's easy for our brain to go to, you know, oh gosh, I hate this, you know, and gosh, I hate, and then give him that. Which event were you at? Holly talk. The presentation is generally the same, but then there's different things. Depends if you were, which one you were at, but the
Melbourne.
I was at Melbourne about 2
Melbourne.
weeks ago.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So we talk about changing it to depersonalize it. So when he is saying, you know, like, I hate myself, or that sort of thing, try and help him to reframe it, to depersonalize it, to be, I hate that, I hate not being able to sleep, or I hate, and depersonalize it from himself to a behavior.
Yeah, okay.
So that it's not aligned to who he is as a person per se, but more so it's, you know, like the situation or the thing, and then you're on his team. Yeah, that would be really crap. Like, I would hate that too. And then, you know, it's like you guys have teamed up with him against that feeling, rather than because otherwise, if you're aligned with him, you're aligned with hating him too. Because if he's hating him,
yeah, that's right. Well, I've been trying to tell him that he's not his mind, but that's you know, that's more like a spiritual awakening thing.
yes,
It's very hard for him to grasp at that age.
absolutely.
So he
But
thinks
keep doing that, you know, keep
Yeah.
planting those seeds, but also come in on this other level, just to offer him something that he can take hold of and run with.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
You're
That's
so
really great
welcome.
strategies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Nee, are you here? Let me just check. Unmute if you can, darling. And Jean.
Yes.
Oh,
Hey.
hi. Hello. How are you?
Good.
Let me just pin you for the recording if I can. All right. So update. Do you want to update me where you're at this week, and how we can, next steps forward?
Okay, so she after the second step, she started coming to us now, talking, and it's kind of opened a lot more than we thought we could. Like it's just too much for us as well. And she will come to us at night again and go, I don't feel good. I feel like I just want to end it. I just want to live till 18, 20. It's really nothing for me. And I go, okay. So, I mean, I go, I can understand you feeling really like heavy. You're feeling really sad. I just don't know why, but what do you feel? What do you want me to do? What do you need? And she go, oh, I don't want to stay in my room. And so I go, okay, would you like me to take you out for a drive? And so I took her out for a drive, and in the midway of things, she cried and she said, Mom, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. And I'm like, oh, geez, what do you feel sorry about? And she go, I'm really sorry. Every time I feel like that, I think of you. I don't want to do that to you. I know you'd be very sad. And I go, oh, I'm here if you need anything. And then I go to her, well, what did you take? And she go, well, I take a few Panadones and her painkillers, and I thought, oh, geez, I better take her to the ED, and she go, no, don't take me there. I'm all right. I'm feeling all right. I just want to stay in a room. So we went and we had a talk, and then on the way back home, I go, okay, we'll go back home, and she's all good again. She's talking and all smiling again. And that with that for that day, And then she continued asking for day off from school, and I go, look, if you're not ready, don't worry about it now. Just ready when you're ready, really. Like
Yeah.
when you want to talk about it. And yeah, and then she continued wanting the boyfriend to be there with her because, and then there was sort of last night, I think they decided to walk out at night for like 1 o'clock in the morning or something.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband John was a bit like, oh, geez, are they sneaking out? Why are they sneaking out? Why couldn't they just tell us?
Yeah.
And I go, I don't really know, but I'm guessing it's one of those feeling again that is overwhelming her, and she just want to take a walk, and the boyfriend were there to make her feel safe to walk. And but at this point, it's like each time we wanted to talk to her, it's a bit the resist is there. She's
Mm-hmm.
only like really acting, relaxed when the boyfriends are there. But
Yeah.
if the boyfriend is not there, we kind of feel like she's
Off
resist,
herself,
like
yeah.
she's just like
Disconnects us with that.
pull herself out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And so um, there is definitely a place to understand that he is helping her to co-regulate. So she has found with him a safety or a security, and so that's a place where she's wanting to continue to have him around, because when he's around, that helps her to calm her nervous system and those sorts of things. And so on one hand, that's a really great thing, and on the other hand, we would like to over time allow her to have the ability to self-regulate and have those things. So in the absence of him not being there, did she take the pills and those sorts of things when he was not there? Yeah.
Yeah, on that
Yeah.
night he was not there.
Yeah. So we can understand from her perspective that things felt really intense, and she doesn't yet have the tools and the strategies to manage her own regulating and emotions at that time. And so in an attempt, like you said, to numb, she has taken those things to numb herself, because she's unable yet to regulate herself and her feelings, because they're so heavy right now. They're so heavy. And so as we move along, and she learns to trust that this change that you are making is a permanent change, there will be a capacity for her nervous system to learn to co-regulate with you. But what I have to say in that is that you also need to be in a position to be able to keep regulated. So, this is where, like I was saying to Russell and Renee, that your nervous system needs to be able to hold that big of a space for you. And for me, what I needed to do was I had to go myself to the Happy to Whole retreats and do the healing on myself to be able to hold that space. So, the last Happy to Whole that I went to, I literally had my eldest daughter had to come with me, because she was only a few days out of hospital after ODing from and cutting and things. So, we couldn't leave her home. She had to come with us so that we knew she was safe. And so that was the Happy to Whole I needed the most, because I needed to learn how to be able to regulate myself so that I could stay in my calm, so that then her nervous system could link up to my nervous system, and we could co-regulate and keep calm together, rather than, because she was my baby and she was like hurting so much, and the stories in my mind is like, like, this is my fault, like
Yes.
I didn't protect her when she was younger, and I didn't, from situations with her dad, or I I pushed her into school when she was clearly telling me that she couldn't do it and it was too much and it was too hard and those sorts of things. So rather than being able to support her, I was allowing my stories to then affect my nervous system, and I was being defensive and shutting down, and all of the coping mechanisms that I use, I was implementing them, and then I couldn't support her. So I needed to do that to be able to quieten my own stories, to be able to hold space for her. And I know you've come a long way in your challenging your own thinking about education and all of those things, and you've allowed her to take some time off and that sort of thing, and it has been beneficial for her to have that time. Where is she at now in terms of wanting to go back to school or moving forward with school?
Well, we had a parent teacher meeting 2 days ago, and I asked her, would you like to come? And then she said no, and I go, look, I understand you don't have to come, so I went by myself, and I came home and I told her, well, your results are, yeah, pretty good, I mean, from where you've been saying you hate school and all of that, to this result, I just amazed. Like, I don't know where would that strain you get it from, and have all of your work done so well. Like, the teacher was surprised that you're not there, and they were worried if they can help you and all of that. And I sort of came up with this list of 5 questions of, why you hate school, and what if you get to do anything at school, what would you like? And if there's any subject that you really hate, why? And, if you like it, why? And most of the question were, I don't like school because it's just too much, noise and friends, and the people's are fake. They don't like me, but they just talk to me just to get something out of me. And it's just like, sort of felt like she got betrayed from friends, even from boyfriend, I think, previous boyfriend. She felt uncomfortable with seeing those people.
Yep.
And then just like when it heavy content, she just really hard for her to listen at school in a class. She rather do it at home, doing her own readings and come up with her own answer, because literally nothing goes through her head in the classroom. Like, the teacher can talk, the friend can be there, and her mind just wander.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is that after all of that, I said, look, you don't have to go to school. Your boyfriend can stay if he can help you to regulate your emotional and, get yourself back on track, your mental state. That's all good. But while we were talking, we in this Zoom call, she texted me. She go, Mom, do I have to go back to school tomorrow? And so I say, well, it depends on how you feel. Do you feel you feel ready to go back? And only when you're ready, then you go. But otherwise, to take your time. And so she came back and she said, "Oh, I'm not sure yet if I wanted to go back." And I go, "Well, then that's fine. Just get yourself, relax and do all of that thing that you wanted to do." And so she been just sleeping in a room, or wake up and go out a bit and then come home and talk to her boyfriend and the cousins in the house. And yeah. Yep. But the interesting thing is that when I asked her, well, if you miss school, we need to get doctor certificates, and I got her to a doctor phone call. And immediately the doctor told me, oh, look, I have to put her into a cat team, and because this is not good. It's not good. And so the psychologist called her, I think, just a couple of days ago. Yeah. And we're talking to her, and she advised me to remove all pills in the house.
Yeah.
And just don't let her have any sharp object
Yeah.
in the
It's
room.
all really standard stuff,
Yeah.
duty of care stuff. They will advise all of those things for protection. So we still have those things in place, and we're 2 years down the track. All of the medications and things are all locked up. She's now allowed to have her razors, but for a while she had to ask us for a razor if she wanted to shave, and we would give it to her, and then she'd have to give it back to us after her shower and those sorts of things. So it is like normal procedure for those kind of things to happen. And so, it's not necessarily that they would be, don't take it as, oh, they're super concerned. It is standard. Not to say that, some of the things that she's saying and those sorts of things are not, concerning and raising, alarm bells in terms of, she's really hurting and she's really advocating for herself that school is not the environment that she feels, the most safe in terms of ability to express herself, not safe as in a threat to her physically, but more, she's not able to just relax and be herself. So she's on guard all of the time because she doesn't trust the people around her to treat her in the way that she deserves to be treated, or she doesn't believe that the people would be truthful and honest to her. So, those things still in the nervous system are processed in the same way as what any other threat is. There, guys, I think I've lost you. You still there? Hopefully you'll be able to come back. All right. I'll wait for Need to come back on, and I'll.
Sorry, got disconnected.
Oh, there you are.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's processed the same way in her nervous system as what a physical threat is. She's feels threatened by people's behaviours in terms of they're showing her that they're not truthful or honest or able to be trusted. Is she, and I don't know. Yeah, for me, what screams out is some of the things that you've described are very similar to some things that ADHD would come up in individuals who are having ADHD. ADHD traits things such as being able to read people's energy, like Holly said, they're really energy sensitive people. So if she's picking up on people's vibes, that the words they're saying are, oh, you're my friend and you're so nice, but she's picking up energetically on their vibes, and their vibes are, I don't even like you. That's a real incongruent situation for her, where she's trying to work out, well, do I listen to what words they're saying, or do I trust my gut, which is telling me that the energy that person is portraying is really like not a nice one? And it must be absolutely exhausting for her to be questioning herself, day in and day out, as which is right. Is it, is it what I'm feeling about this person, or is it what they're saying?
Yeah. Okay, so the funny thing is that a couple of weeks ago, before this program, I would suggest to her that, oh, you want to go see psychology, you want to go see doctor to get tested out to see if you have any, you want to get diagnosed, basically, I say. And she say, no, I don't want that. And I go, why is that? And she go, oh, I don't want to take medication. I see my friend take medication and they look like they floating. They don't look like who they are. And she go, I do not want you to give me that. And I was afraid, and this is why I joined the program. I was like, oh, okay. It's like almost like she self-diagnosed herself and she just knows what she wants.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it scared me. I'm like, I don't even know any of these. And she go, look, mom, I know what they would do to me. I seen it from my friend. And then she came out on the other night that, oh, I go, well, is there any of your friend that you can talk to about this? And she go, yeah, my whole group of friends, they all have suicidal thought every day, go to school.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going, oh,
And so
are you?
it's like, what it's like is, you know, energetically she'll be feeding off these other people as well. It's like a punnet of strawberries. If you've got a punnet of strawberries and there's one bad one in there, it doesn't take long before they're all bad. And so, removing her from the school environment gives her a breather, energetically speaking, to be able to align with what actually are her true thoughts. And she's not overwhelmed by having to have all these social interactions that are confusing for her at the moment, because they're saying one thing but acting or showing her truthfully, energetically speaking, a different thing. She's also then learning information and things in a way that is not ideal for the way that her brain works. And you don't need a diagnosis for that. You just need to have an awareness or an understanding of, my brain just doesn't work like that. Like I'm just not aligned to sitting and reading, listening to a teacher talk. I'm aligned to reading or to online. And so it may be that she takes up the option of, because she's 17 year. What year is she in at high school?
Year 11.
She's 16, year 11.
16. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, she may get to the point where she decides to do online learning. So you can do school online, and then she does it from home. And she doesn't have to deal with the energy of other people, the distractions of other people. She may choose to, you can do homeschooling where you get to help her create the curriculum that she wants to do. There are programs like UCA and Homeschool Academy, and she can select her subjects of what she wants to do, and then help her to realign with, what do you want to do moving forward? Because if she, wants to do something that doesn't need an enter score or a ATAR score, or what they're called in your state, then there's no point doing it. Like like for me as a teacher, I got to, I was like, oh, she needs this, she needs this, she needs this, and me pushing her just really hurt her. And now she's got, she's got her own business, and she's just on the weekend asked me to drive her to hand her resume in. She took her resume in, she did an interview on the spot and was offered the job on the spot, and she's now going to be working in a cafe during the day, and I'll do a bit of her homeschooling in the afternoons and things, but we work around what works for her.
So brilliant. Yes, that's what we were thinking as well, because she was like, I don't want to see these people. And even the teacher, she's like, any teacher that walk in the class, and the moment they start to speak, she's go, no, I can't listen to this guy, or I can't listen to this lady.
Yep. Because her soul knows what its purpose is.
Yeah.
And that doesn't align with what her soul's purpose is. So her soul's like, what are you doing this for?
Yeah. And the whole day after she opened up with me about her suicidal thought, she keep checking on me every hour. She go, Mom, are you all right?
Yeah.
Are you all right? Mom, you don't look like you're all right. And I'm going, no, I'm fine. She go, Mom, I know I'm scared of you. So, that
and say that. Don't tell her you're all right when you're not all right, because that's exactly what her friends are doing to her. She can feel you. So don't gaslight her like that. Be like, yeah, you know what? I love you so much. Like, I love you so much, and I am scared. I am scared. But I know how to process that, and that's okay. That's okay for me to be feeling like that. It's just because I love you. You're right.
Yeah,
I
that's
am
great.
scared because she is really intuitive. She's showing you how intuitive
Yeah.
she is, and she's kept asking you because she was testing you, and you kept failing. You kept
Yeah.
doing what her
Oh,
friends do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we notice when we do that, we
Yeah.
see a disconnection.
Yes,
Yeah. And we
because
don't,
Scared she won't talk to
yeah,
us.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
we
why
can
would
feel
you?
it.
You just
Yeah.
lied to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
She
why she kept
feels
saying to
you.
us, yeah, and she kept saying that you haven't changed. I'm like,
Yep.
and
There you
I
go.
now that just that point you made sense.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Don't be
Because we were
afraid to be
concerned.
honest.
Yeah, we were concerned that if we told the truth, it might impact her. But I think doing
The
that way was
opposite has.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And
Wow.
so she, in that moment, be like, yeah, you're right. Like, I am scared. I really am, because I love you. Or yeah, I am hurting because,
Yeah.
like, it's okay for me to be hurt. It's not your responsibility. Like, that's my responsibility. I know how to process my feelings and my emotions, and they're my responsibility. But gosh, I love you for checking on me like that. Like, I feel so loved right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with the questions she asking, like, when can I go back to, do I have to go back to school? What do we say? We sort of stuck there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I did is I said, this is completely, in your court. Like, I just want to be able to support you. So I'm not willing to have you stop school and do nothing. Like, that's a boundary for me. So
Okay.
if you want to stop school, tell me what you're going to bring into your life that is purposeful, that you're going to put your attention to. And for her, it was, I'm going to do an eyelash extension course, and I want to have my own business. And okay, so that's what we did. But see if she can come up with a plan of,
Mm.
what would, if she had a magic wand and she could wave that magic wand and be in the position where she was able to choose what she did with her life, what would her life look like? Like, what does she want her life to look like? What does she want it to feel like? Because when you know the vision and what you want it to feel like, you can start making small action steps towards that. But at the moment, you're making decisions on the spot, day by day, and you're reacting to situations or how she's feeling or whatever in that moment, rather than being proactive and taking control of the situation and being like, okay, this is where we're heading. I don't know how we get there, but that's the destination that we're heading, and then you can start to make your way there, because there's opportunities like Tammy's popped up there. TAFE you can do. There's so many of the courses and things for university and stuff. They take you as a mature age student. So even if she decides in a couple of years' time, oh, actually, I wanted to go to university, you just sit a skills-based test, and then you can go off to university and do it as a mature age student. You can do TAFE subjects now. Like, if she wants to, she can be homeschooled and then engage in TAFE subjects. She can do a apprenticeship. Like, if you decide to do homeschooling or something, definitely get on Facebook in homeschooling communities and ask questions, because there are a wealth of information on there, of different options and pathways for kids.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I
You're
think
so
that,
welcome. Thank you.
Well,
Renee, I'll come to you quickly, and then we'll have to finish for tonight. Can you unmute, darling?
I imagine it's me, Renee.
Renee Ann.
That's me, yes.
Yes, darling.
Hello.
All right. talk to me. Let me check your question. Just every time I open it, it closes. So you had not sure if it's been covered, guidance about talking about nutrition and how you can support your children with understanding how important it is to nourish their body and that sort of thing. So tell me a little bit about the ages of the child or children that you want to have these conversations with.
Yeah, it's I have two children. My daughter will pretty much eat anything. She's 14, almost 15. So that's great. But my son, who is 10, almost every day or every night just refuses to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Previously, he would want to smother the vegetables in tomato sauce, which I sort of thought, at least he's eating it. I'm happy with that. But now it's almost like he doesn't like all of these vegetables anymore. Last night we had like curried sausages, and he said he wanted just a sausage in bread. Doesn't want to eat vegetables. Doesn't like sausages with mashed potatoes. So there's always these, I guess, reasons for not wanting to eat. And so I thought, well, tonight we can eat this, and how about tomorrow night you tell me what you would like to eat, and that. And then the next night will come and he'll sort of still say, well, I wanted that, but I don't want the vegetables.
Yeah.
And I feel like I get stuck in that, I try not to be triggered because, I was an abused child, and not eating any food was a sign of disrespect to my mother.
Yeah.
So I try to not get emotional in those moments, and I find that that's really hard. So to try and level myself to have a conversation with him, that it's going to fuel his body and he's going to feel better for it.
Mm-hmm.
I just get with the words to use.
Yeah. And so I think you're on the right track talking about, fueling his body and that sort of thing. Is he able to, is this a sensory thing for him? Is it a taste thing, texture? Has he been able to express any of that?
No, not really.
Just doesn't like it.
Doesn't like it, but I mean, he swaps and changes. So he'll sort of say, oh, have I had this before? And I'll say, yeah. Say, did I like it? And I'm like, yes, you did. You really did like it. And he'll go, oh. But then he'll still kind of refuse to eat it. And the tomato sauce has always been a thing. Like if he doesn't like something, we'll offer, would you like to put tomato sauce on it maybe? But I just find he's just not wanting to eat it more and more, like everyday foods. And he just sort of wants the snacky foods, like, can I just have a Nutella sandwich or, a bowl of cereal or something like that. And normally I'd give in because I'd like, well, at least he's eating and he's not going to go to bed hungry, but I would really like him to eat better food.
Yeah, and I think, it's really really understandable to go, oh, I just want him to have some food. But when we have an understanding of what those foods actually, the content of those foods in terms of the carbohydrates and the sugars and what effect that has on the body, is that then it becomes a situation where the body gets a bit lazy, and it knows that I can just quickly grab, the hit of sugar and the hit of the carbohydrates, and so they end up craving those foods because their body knows that it's a quick, easy way for them to get that wow feeling, I guess, because that's what those sort of foods do. That's why we have comfort foods, because they do and have a positive impact upon us in terms of chemical reactions and those sorts of things. I think zinc is also a nutrient that is often attributed to changes in taste buds and those sorts of things. So when you are low in zinc, it can have the effect of children being more picky with their eating. So potentially, having some zinc included in his as a supplement or whatever might be of benefit. Like if you have a look up what foods have zinc in it, and then sort of weigh up in your mind, like I wouldn't say, run out and get him, blood tested or anything to check on levels of, or anything like that. But to put into perspective, if you read a list of all the foods that had zinc in it and then you go, well, he really doesn't eat those, then you would hazard a guess to say that he potentially has got, a deficiency in zinc, and then see if you can get, even if it's the little gummy ones, just some kind of as natural, healthy version of a supplement as you can to put into his food to help encourage his taste buds. And then it just really depends on how much of a boundary you wanted to put in for this, because he won't starve. He will eat when he's hungry, and fasting is healthy for the body. So it is about, what your bottom line is. If your bottom line is you really want him to eat better, then, it may have to be that he just has to eat what is served to him, and there is nothing else available. The only other thing available for him after dinner, if he's hungry, is a piece of fruit, and that is all. Because when there are the options of him, he knows that if he doesn't eat his dinner but he's still hungry, you are going to give him the food that he wants anyway. So, you've kind of set up a cycle where there's a way out for him. And if this is really truly seriously what you want to do, you have to remove that way out where he just has to do, eat what is provided for him. And then if he chooses not to, he either has a piece of fruit or he goes hungry. He eventually he will learn, to be able to. But the caveat on that is if it's a sensory thing, and it's something you're going to have to see a nutritionist or a dietitian if there is an associated thing. Like there are children who have legitimate disordered eating, like AFRED and those kinds of disorders. But if we're not in that category, then it's a taste thing or a thing he's choosing based on, now we've hijacked his his little system to really want all the sugary and carb laden food. He's going to have to go through a detox in terms of, he'll feel crappy for a couple of days if he's not eating those things. Because parasites and all of those kind of things feed off that environment. That's how you get overgrown bacteria in the gut and those sorts of things. And you end up with gut issues and all of that. It's because they feed off sugar and they feed off carbohydrates.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do as well, is I give in to him. So, I try to sort of have that boundary where I'll say, well, if we can't eat, what's good for us, then, well, we can't have anything at all. And then he'll sort of, call my bluff, I guess, and say, well, that's fine. I'll just have a shower and go to bed. And then, 10 or 15 minutes later, he's crying and screaming because he's so hungry and I'm starving him. How can I let him go to bed without food? And my mum guilt kicks in. So they're fine, just eat something. And, most days I try to stand firm and say, we can't have the snacky food because the sugar is just going to, give you restless sleep or something like that. So he'll sort of say, well, fine, I'll have a banana then. And he stomps around, and it's almost I'm the one now that feels so guilty because I sent him to bed without food, and I shouldn't have done that. And giving him a banana.
This is a reframe. Absolutely a reframe, where the language that we use in the program is choose. So if you choose not to eat this dinner, you choose to go to bed hungry. That's not you, that's him. He made that choice. So when he throws back at you like, I'm hungry, well, you could have had your dinner. Okay, not should, could. You could have had your dinner.
Yeah.
Would you like, put it in the fridge, and then would you like me to heat it up now?
Yeah.
You can absolutely have your dinner now.
Mhm.
Or you can have a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
You chose not to have your dinner. You chose, you know, and it's him choosing. It's not you. He's in control of that situation.
Yeah.
And so then when he is getting upset and all that sort of thing, take a breath, calm your nervous system.
Mm.
And I'm sorry you feel that way. You could have had your dinner. I understand you're upset. I understand you're hungry. Would you like a piece of fruit? Would you like me to heat your dinner up? No, if it's, still, well, tomorrow you can choose to have your dinner.
Yeah.
And it's just matter of fact. And, I'm sorry you feel that way. You chose not to eat your dinner. You chose to have a hungry tummy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the choices. And I do get that. Sometimes in the moment, it's so hard to regulate yourself with
Yeah.
so much. And sometimes even, when we're at the dinner table, my daughter will say, why can't you just eat it? And then I think I get a bit overwhelmed with her, sort of, so trying to regulate her to say, it's okay, I can, talk to him, or I'll talk to him later, thank you. But,
Yeah.
next time, please, not interrupt him, or, let me sort of take the lead with it or something like that, because he does get really emotional, and I find that can sort of make my emotions go a bit wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just about saying, thank you. I'm the parent. Mummy will deal with this. I know you're trying to help. I've got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, guys, we went a little bit over tonight, but really purposeful. Hopefully, you got a lot out of it. And Holly will be back next week. And thanks for being with me tonight. See you later, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.